Okay, so in the last video we talked about where you need to be in your head with your Imperial Guard in 7th edition, how you need to change your mentality, how the Imperial Guard now function in 7th edition, and I explained how it's no longer about the tanks, it's about the infantry, and I said a few things which I want to expand upon. Going into why it's about the infantry. And I also said that the Imperial Guard play very differently to any other army out there. And many of you are going to disagree with that. So we're going to address that point first. Okay. The reason the Imperial Guard, or the way the pure infantry, as I like to run pure infantry. I know that's not feasible for many people, but let's just say that you've got an army which is about 75% infantry. Okay, that's the minimum you're going to want to go for. But let's say you've got an army which is about 75% infantry. Okay. The reason this is playing completely differently to any other army out there is, whilst fundamentally it's a horde army, you're looking at 100, 150 plus models on the table. If you look at other horde armies that exist out there, two most common ones being Tyranids and Orcs, both of those are horde armies which aren't shooting armies. Traditionally, when you take a horde army, it's because you want to have so many bodies that your opponent can't physically stop them all from getting to them, and then the opponent gets drowned. Maybe he killed 50, but you're going to get to him by turn 2, and then you drown him in your bodies. We're talking about orc chopper boys. Orcs do use shooter boys, but traditionally you don't see them in huge quantities. Or not traditionally, but nowadays it's mostly about just getting in there and breaking heads with your orcs. Same for Tyranids. You get Termagants and Hormagaunts. Termagants, yeah, sure, they're 4 points a guy, and technically they come with a gun, but it's a bolt pistol, or I don't know I think it's the Devourer or the Flesh Boar. I can't remember which one it is, but it's the basic gaunt. Comes with a range 12-inch gun, strength 4, AP 5, one shot. It's essentially the arm with bolt pistols. So really, Termagants are for, again, you do one volley, then you charge in. And obviously the one that people love to use is the Hormagaunts. They just run at you. You get about 1, if you're lucky, 2 turns of shooting at them, and then they're all over you like a bad rash. Imperial Guard don't do that. Not in 7th edition. Maybe in 4th to 5th edition. You had things like power blobs, which I used to love to run. You're there. You've got your 4 Pyraxes on your sergeants. You're running up you've got a commissar in there, maybe a priest. You're running up the field, and you get in there and you just Pyrax the shit out of everyone. Great. That used to be the way to do it, but no longer in 6th and 7th edition. The reason why there's no other real reason why we don't do it is shooting. Shooting in 6th and especially 7th edition is super, super powerful, which means you lose more guys trying to get in, which means, and remember, Imperial Guard, we're only toughness 3, we're not like the Orcs. The reason why Imperial Guard can't do it anymore is because we're only toughness 3, which means we're very easy to kill. Most other armies' basic weapons are wounding us on 2s or 3s. So we can not, unlike the Orcs who are toughness 4, they can afford they take so much less damage than us, and unlike the Tyranid Hormagaunts, which so much faster than us, they're going to get there straight away. Imperial Guard, it'll take us to about turn 3 to even get near the enemy. By that time, we've lost so much of our army that trying to get into combat with them is pointless, and this is why we don't see Blob Guard as a close combat force as an attacking force in an Imperial Guard army. Maybe as a counter-attack force, fixed bayonets, ready the power weapons, counter-attack what's come at you. But generally speaking, Imperial Guard close combat isn't really a thing anymore. It's now all about shooting. And that's something that Imperial Guard favour. And so the reason why Imperial Guard are fundamentally a different army to any other army out there is we're a horde army that specialises in shooting. And now normally you have horde armies which are close combat, and elite armies which are shooting, but we're a horde army that specializes in shooting. So that's why we play completely differently. And that's why if you take huge volumes of infantry, you're going to do so well. Because let's say you take 3 blobs of 40 guardsmen. There's other units in your army. Let's say you take 3 blobs of 40 guardsmen and you put heavy weapons in each one of those and special weapons in each one. For the sake of the argument, let's say you've got autocannons and grenade launchers, that good old-fashioned combo. Guard, bread and butter for many editions. Not as favoured these days, but still it can hold its own. What you have to then treat that blob as is the heavy weapons are going to be doing you damage, and so your special weapons. The lasguns are going to be doing some damage when you get close with your 24-inch range. But fundamentally, each one of those lasgunner people, they're just an extra wound to the heavy weapons teams. Imagine if a Space Marine player could take, on his Devastator squads, so he's got his 4 las cannons, he could just then take 40 additional wounds of 5 points a wound. He'd do it. So lasguns are great, and they are going to do a lot of work in your army. They're going to do a lot of work in your army, because remember, everyone's using monstrous creatures, which actually means most of the time you can wound them on lasguns with lasguns. Yeah, maybe you need 6s, but you can still wound them. So that's the fundament. That's what I'm saying. So fundamentally, the reason they play differently is they're a shooting horde army, and the strength of them having these heavy weapons in the blobs is it means the enemy has to chew through so much fodder before they actually start reducing your serious firepower. Okay, so that's why we like huge blobs of infantry, because it means the enemy is going to be so focused on trying to kill those autocannons, they're going to be shooting you and shooting you and shooting you, but they're only going to be killing lasguns. And you're going to have a commissar in there or a priest, so you don't really care, shoot about them killing lasguns. It doesn't matter if you take a leadership test every turn. You're going to pass it one way or another. So that's why they play completely differently. Okay, now the reason why infantry is now key. This is what I wanted to expand upon, because I just kept saying infantry was key, and I said the reasons why other things were bad. But now I want to say why infantry is good. I sort of touched on it, but the reason why infantry is now key and more important than vehicles is because it is so much easier for you to buff your infantry than it is to buff your tanks. And you can double stack buffs on your infantry that you can't do on your tanks. And what I'm talking about here is psychic phase and the orders of the Imperial Guard. Now, if you're watching this, I'm going to assume you know what orders are for the Imperial Guard. I'm not going to cover that here because I'll probably do it in a separate video, like for Billy Basic videos. But anyway, moving on. No other army, apart from Skitarii, but they have to ally in Psykers, and we're talking about Guard being a standalone force here. No other army can really buff their infantry to the extent that Guardsmen can without using psychic powers. I mean, you can give your infantry Monster Hunter, Tank Hunter, and all you have to do is pass a leadership check. And Guard have so many ways of guaranteeing you're going to pass that leadership check. Commissars, Vox, formations, that suddenly those four las cannons that you took are now Monster Hunter, Tank Hunter. Now, normally you wouldn't want to put las cannons in your infantry blobs because they're only ballistic skill 3, so they're going to be hitting half the time. But then you put Monster Hunter, Tank Hunter on them, which means they're only going to hit half the time, so you're only going to hit with 2 out of your 4 las cannons. But they're going to do some damage. Because how many times as a Guard player have you rolled, you've gone, yes, I finally hit with my las cannon, you roll, you get a 1. You only needed a 2. Fuck, you were shooting at like some kind of rhino. You're shooting at a fucking rhino or something. You only needed a 2. Or maybe you're trying to kill that Imperial Knight. You only needed a 4. Fuck me, I haven't done it. Fuck. Suddenly, Monster Tank Hunter. Roll again. Bam, you've done it. Last tournament I went to, I won 4 out of 6 games using a pure infantry guard list. My opponents, every single one of them went, during my shooting phase, roll my las cannons, they're my 2 hits, roll to damage, no damage in either one. They'd go, alright, haha, And then I'd be like, oh, Monster the Tank Hunter. And they'd, every single one of them, every turn, would be like, fuck's sake, that Monster the Tank Hunter. Bring it down. The orders, bring it down. Roll again, bam. 2 hull points off your knight. Bam. Killed your fucking transport. Bam. Killed your fucking tank. No one uses tanks. Bam. 2 wounds off your Riptide. It's dead. You know? Every single time. Every single game. Apart from when I faced Wolfstar. Then they didn't say that. But because they don't really have any monsters or tanks. But so yeah, so you can Monster the Tank Hunter. Great. You can put ignore cover on your infantry. Fantastic. How many times have fucking waves elder vehicles been coming at you, or dark elder vehicles been coming at you, or fucking bikes, or anything that can jink? How many times as a unit that can jink, it comes at you and you shoot at it and they jink, and even though jink's only on a 4-up, it feels like they're making it on a 2-up. Like it's like every single time, there's a 4-up, there's a 4-up, jink, 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 and it's just crippling your firepower. Because even though it should only be half your firepower is being negated, they're just making it every single fucking time. Suddenly, that's not an issue anymore. You know, let's say you're using missile launchers, just for an example. You know, we've used last cannons as an example. We've used auto cannons as an example. Let's use missile launchers as an example. You find your missile launchers at the enemy bike, the bikes that are coming towards you. You know, Space Marine bikes. You know, and the guy's going to jink, and you know he's not going to get his armor save, but he's going to jink. Maybe he's White Scars. White Scars. This is, you know, you see this is a tournament list. White Scars, skilled biker, 3-up jink. It's going to fuck you. Oh, suddenly here's my 4 missile launchers, and I hit with half of them. You can, a nice little trick I like to say is, you're going to jink, and if he's not thinking, your opponent will say, yeah, I'll jink. Doesn't matter, you've just ignored cover. Ha ha ha. Now that unit's fucked anyway. That's a good trick. Don't forget that. To ask them, you put ignores cover on your unit, and then you ask them, would they like to jink? 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes. Just instinctively, they'll say yes. And then they go, oh no, you've got ignores cover. Too late, dickwad. Too late, you've said it. This is a fucking tournament, no backseas, bitch. You know, once I've rolled the dice, it's too late. The number of times that I've trolled my opponents, and they've gone, all right, I'm going to make my jink saves, and you go, oh, I'm putting ignores cover on that unit. And they're like, oh yeah, you forgot. Oh fuck, why did you ask me if I want to jink? And it's like, that's the rules. I have to ask you. I have to ask my opponent if you're going to jink. You don't have to. You know, maybe it's a bit of a dick move, but this is a fucking tournament we're talking about. In a friendly game, you maybe want to say backseas, you know, but that's fine. But this is a tournament we're talking about. Anyway. And then, so what I was saying before is, so that's one way of buffing. They're the two orders you're really going to use, apart from first rank fire, second rank fire, which you're probably going to use every single turn. Every time you don't issue bring it down, every time you don't issue fire on my target, you're going to issue first rank fire, second rank fire. Maybe move, but most of the time first rank fire, second rank fire, because you need every shot you want. Okay. But I talked about double stacking these buffs. It's like, how do you stack? You can't order a unit twice. It has to make a shooting attack. A unit can only make a shooting attack once a turn. You know, you can't keep ordering them to shoot. How are you double stacking these things? Psychic phase. You want to take, if I don't normally like using psychers because you pay 75 points for, I mean, you can ally them in, I understand that, but we're talking about Imperial Guard as a basic code, as a single unit. You can buy yourself 3 Primaris Psychers and an Astropath. Fuck the Astropath for now, we'll just think about the Primaris Psychers. 75 points a pop for a level 2 Psyker, which is so expensive. Considering a Librarian is 65 points and we have to pay 75 points for essentially a Guardsman with some funky powers. It's not a great deal, but that's another story. You take 3 of these things, you roll on Divination, you make sure you get fucking Prescience, okay? Suddenly, your Ballistic Skill 3 isn't so bad. Because what you're doing is you're re-rolling hits. So let's take those 4 las cannons in that las cannon blob. Let's say you've got 2 las cannon blobs. Okay. There's an enemy Riptide over there. Okay, or an enemy Wraith Knight over there. You roll your 4 las cannons, you only get 2 hits. Oh, re-roll Prescience. Maybe you get 3 hits. If you're lucky, you'll get 4. But let's talk about statistics. 3 hits. Gotta wound it. Oh, you got a 1 on you to wound. Reroll it. Oh, 3 wounds. Most of the time, he's going to have done his Nova Charge to get extra firepower. So all he's got, and not all of them, you'd be surprised in the Riptide wing, many of them don't go for Feel No Pain for the stim injectors. Most of them rely on the Invuln because they want to cram as many Riptides in as they can. So yeah, most of them, so maybe he'll have Feel No Pain, maybe he won't, but either way, you're going to be facing a 5-up save from his Invuln. 3 wounds, he'll stop 2. That's 2 wounds off. You do the same with the next lasgun. This is without even taking into account the lasguns. You see what I mean? You do the same with the next lasgun blob. Riptide's down to 1 wound. Before you even use anything else. Then you've got 2 40-man blobs. Maybe you're not in range with everyone, but let's say you've got 50 lasgun shots piled on top then. Normally you'd only hit with 25. Then you'd only win with 4. Then he'd make his saves. But suddenly you're hitting with about 35, 38. You know, let's say you're hitting with roughly 40. Roughly. And it's 60 shots and you're hitting with 40. That seems about right. Then you wound. But guess what? Your lasguns have got Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter as well. That Riptide's very fucking dead. I can't tell you the number of times that I just ran a blob of 50 conscripts at a Riptide. Okay, this is slightly off topic, but we're not talking about lasguns here. I've ran a blob of 50 conscripts at a Riptide. It's not at the fucking Riptide, it's just up the field. Okay. And my opponent says, are they conscripts? They've only got lasguns? I don't care about them. I need to shoot those other blobs. I need to shoot those blobs with the heavy weapons in. Because your lasguns are firing out at him. Suddenly, your Riptide, maybe it's on... I mean, I've taken... I'm not bullshitting you here, okay? A full wound Riptide. My 50 conscripts have got close enough to it. It's ignored them. Maybe I've lost about 10 going in from spare firepower. 40 conscripts. I then put first rank fire, second rank fire on that unit. They're in close range. 120 shots. Normally I'd be hitting on 5s. Suddenly, I've got rerolls. Maybe I don't need to put first, if I'm at long range, it's first rank, second rank fire. We're talking about 80 shots. Rerolling to hits. Maybe up to 120 shots rerolling to hits. Then, I want to put Tank Hunter, Monster Hunter on them. But I'm still rerolling those hits. You see what I mean? And the number of times that I've run up to an opponent and actually just taken down a Riptide with lasguns, it's doable. It's hard. It's hard. And statistically, you'd look to be on your side a little bit, but you've got those rerolls, baby. It's very doable. So this is expanding. This is the road I'm leading you down with this video. Okay, this is the road I'm leading you down, which is infantry are now key in your Imperial Guard army, and this is why. Okay, your opponent has to kill, this is the summary of the video. Your opponent has to kill so many more models to start reducing your serious firepower in your blobs. He's got to kill through your lasguns, and infantry can be double buffed with psychic powers and orders. Other units, like your other vehicles, they can't be double. If you're taking lots of tanks, the most you can buff them is with psychic powers. Tank orders don't increase the amount of damage you do. Okay? If you actually go and look at the tank orders, they don't increase the amount of damage you do. Most of the infantry orders increase the amount of damage you do. So you're hitting more often, and when you hit, by God, you're doing damage. So that is why infantry is now key. It's why you need lots of infantry. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next time.